I wanted to speak out in support of Andrew Bridgen, the British Tory MP who's just been eviscerated from the face of the planet and removed from the Conservative Party for wrongthink. Andrew has been joining those of us who have been speaking out against the vaccine and highlighting the issue with excess deaths and mortality in the UK right now and around the rest of the world. And there's some specific things I wanted to say because I've been through them and I know the steps that he's going through and I know what it's like. And the first thing to say is that usually in these times, what everybody does is run away from you. So when you are held up and you are executed in the public square for whatever your wrongthink is, people on your side who have been encouraging you or telling you that it's great that you're speaking out tend to just run for cover. Because as much as they might agree with you or think the same as you or have encouraged you to keep speaking out, they don't want this happening to them. So you find yourself suddenly very, very alone. The second thing I wanted to say was that it doesn't matter what Andrew Bridgen said in the sense that they were just looking for an outrage hook, something to hook their outrage on. The point is, he wasn't allowed to speak out against the vaccine. So it doesn't matter then whatever phrases he used, whether it was about the Jewish community or the Muslim community or any other community, you gave them an outrage hook. I know this at a personal level. When people are out to silence you, the last thing you can afford to give them is an open goal, which is exactly what I did when the same thing happened to me at LBC. The next thing I wanted to talk about is after you've committed the wrongthink, people are just waiting for the open goal. They are just waiting for you to give them that outrage hook. And so by doing that, you make their jobs very easy. Now, as I said, because my outrage hook also involved very loosely the Jewish community through the use of words, there is a very specific group of people who will have come for Andrew Bridgen. And it is a coordinated brute squad that come in and they hack away from the kneecaps. And I can list them here because they're the very same brute squad that came for me. And it's a combination of powerful groups. So you will have Jewish groups like the Board of Deputies. They have letters that they all sign and they pile in. They are joined by the Muslim Council. If these two have to protest something, they work together. So the Muslim Council will have got involved and been outraged on behalf of the Jewish community. You will have leftist Jewish organisations. They will pile on it. Then you will have people being outraged from other things that don't seem linked, but it's politically motivated for them. So you have the Labour Party and Labour representatives piling on in, as did I. Then you have crazy kind of individuals involved. In my case, Brandon Cox appears from nowhere, Save the Children, and then the chief rabbi. So there's a list of individuals who work together in a coordinated effort to have you removed. And I have been through exactly that. And it is quite impressive when you see them work together because it puts somebody like Rishi Sunak in an impossible position because it seems like he's surrounded by people being outraged and his only action really is to just get rid of Andrew Bridgen, which is totally the wrong thing to do. And let's bear in mind, this outrage has just been layered on. It has nothing to do, in fact, with anti-Semitism. It has nothing to do with racism. It has everything to do with wrongthink about the vaccine, and that cannot be allowed. Now, the next step is that they mustn't just, censor you, or it's not just enough that they remove you. So it won't be enough. It's not enough for them that they've removed the whip, so he's no longer a member of the Conservative Party. That's not enough. What they now need to do is destroy you completely. And many of my followers will know, I've often spoken about they'll push you until you swing from a tree. They don't stop. Once this outrage mob has gathered, and once that brute squad hits, they want to keep pushing you till you swing from a tree. And so it won't be enough. It's not enough that they've taken the whip from Andrew Bridgen. They will try and destroy every single element of his life now, every single bit of it. And there is already a quote from Rishi Sunak's advisor on anti-Semitism saying he must never be allowed to stand again. So not only is it enough that he's had the whip removed and he's being socially humiliated and he'll be kicked off this, that and the other, and he won't be invited to do this, that, and he won't be allowed to speak in mainstream and. Now it's that he must never be allowed to stand again. We must destroy his whole life for wrongthink. And then finally, and I think most importantly, the reason for all of this linked to wrongthink is Andrew Bridgen becomes what a teacher would call a learning point or a teaching point. Andrew Bridgen becomes a moment to teach the crowds, you do not speak out against the vaccine. If you speak out, look what happens. And that's precisely what happens with me or people that have gone before me or others that I know who are now in prison or have lost everything or had their homes taken, or in my case, their children reported to social services. The lesson is, if you speak out, we will come for everything you have, including, in my case, my head. You know, a couple of people came to chop my head off. So the most important thing for those who are in power is not only to crush the person speaking wrongthink, but to teach the crowd, you must not have this wrongthink. And I liken it actually to Iran and the hangings from cranes, which is the most brutal kind of imagery you can have, but it's a very similar thing. He must be hung from a crane in the public square, high and mighty in its kind of crushingness, so that others can see and be afraid to speak out. So that's what's going on from personal experience. And to Andrew, if you happen to hear this, please know there are many of us out here who are very supportive of what you said and what you were trying to get across. There are many of us who see what's being done to you. And please know, every day you feel like the only way out of this is to swing from a tree. That's not the answer. This too shall pass. And you are not alone. You are being made to feel it, but you're not. We are many, and we are stronger together, and we will prevail. So to everybody watching this spectacle, who may be feeling fearful because you see this swinging thing from the crane, don't be afraid. Our time is coming.